You are about to enter a world of imagination. A world where battles are fought on hex maps and grids, whether virtually or in person. Dice are cast, swords clash, and even the toughest problems can be solved with a little ingenuity and a lot of luck. For power gamers to world players, all are welcome here. Hell, even 4th edition has a seat at the table. So with dice in hand and a heart longing for adventure, I could welcome you all to this edition of Ravenlord Live. Y'all thought I was going to say Polyhedra Paradise, but no, that intro was for Cap. This whole stream is for Cap. For Captain Pennsylvania, my brother, heading out to California. I believe he's in Texas right about now. Somewhere in Texas, if I remember correctly. Cap is making a big move out west. Just like the gold miners back in the day, looking for fame and riches. Good luck to you. So, there are going to be a few little differences in this stream tonight. We're not just going to do regular live reading because I have Cap's active ear. We're going to take a look at it's relative to role-playing games. Maybe not Ravenloft. I mean, it is horrific, but it's the Electric State. Electric State is a art book by Simon Steinhog, but it's a story book, and it's getting made right now into a movie for Netflix with the fine gentleman who created Endgame, the Russo brothers. I have a whole bunch of Marvel people in it. Millie Bobby Brown is the central protagonist. Chris Pratt's in it. A whole lot of people are in it, but that's not why I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because the art book is wonderful, and it also involves a road trip across California. It's set in a alternate future in the 1990s. It's alternate. I don't want to get too much into it, but there's also a role-playing game that's coming out for it by the fine folks at Free League, and they sent me back to Kickstarter for it, and I figure, we're reading The Created before you guys get crazy. Yes, we're reading The Created, but there's going to be some breaks that we're going to take, and during those breaks, I'm going to take a look at the Electric State RPG, and we're going to watch a video. It's going to be a little bit of a long video, but we're going to watch a video that talks about it and gives a nice breakdown, and better breakdown than I could, of the original art book by Simon Steinhog. So we're going to take a look at that, and then we'll look at the PDF for the role-playing game. We're also going to do the next part of the created live stream, live read. So that's going to be placed into the pot to create our extra long read, and we're also going to do a new little fun thing. There's a book called Forged Darkness. You know what? Let's take a look at the book real quick, because the book's right up here. Okay, so there's a book, Forged Darkness, right? It is a whole bunch of magic items, rare magic items in the game. So I thought once a stream, maybe, because they're not really long entries, I thought we could go ahead and take a look at one item a stream. Just quick once over. Once how you do. Once look at the undercarriage. However you want to put it. we're just going to take a quick peek at it, and we'll do one of those. If there's any that you all find particularly interesting, leave them down in the comments, and maybe we'll go a little bit deeper. By the way, speaking of the video in the comment section and whatnot, these live streams are only going to be up for 24 hours after the live stream. So I give everybody a little bit of a chance who wants to see it. But if you want to guarantee that you see these live streams, come and see them live. When are they going to happen? I don't know. Not much on schedules. So they're going to happen. They're going to pop up, and you're going to have to pay attention. You guys know how to do that. I trust you all. And if you're not here, you'll have 24 hours to catch it. But all this talkiness, this bits and fun stuff that goes on, that's all going to be cut out when The Created gets released. So if you want to get in my ear and have fun, watch me flub and talk about all the extra stuff we talk about you got to be here live. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. I lost my. I had a whole sheet written up. What I wanted to talk about prior to reading, and I left it upstairs. So wait, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be guessing here. So let's. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at the. Let's turn this music's back on. Oops. Oh, dead air. It's not good, Jason. No, I went and hit the wrong music button. There we go. So that should be back on. How's the volume sound out there? I think it sounds pretty good, if not a touch loud. Let me back some of this off a little bit here. There we go. All right, we just want loud enough to hear it. So, Forge of Darkness. Okay. Let's pick a number. How are we gonna? If only we had a random number generator. If only. All right. Well, I'm just gonna put my finger on my screen here, and that's how we're gonna pick the first one. That. Oh, you know what? We're gonna stay thematic. We're gonna stay on theme here because Giuseppe, the toy maker, he actually has an entrance in here. You can see Giuseppe's toys, page 31. So let's go down and take a look at Giuseppe's toys. No, I'm not just going to seek. I'm going to scroll this entire way. All right. I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. All right. 17. Nope, that's not it. 26. Nope. Oh, Captain, my Captain, if you're out there, let me know where you're at in Texas. Again, this stream's for my brother heading across country. 31. All right. So, Giuseppe's Toys. The domain of Odier is not large. From east to west, it measures less than 300 feet. From the north to south, it's hardly larger. Although sometimes called an endless city, there are less than 100 buildings within its borders. At the heart of this diminutive realm, however, is the vengeful automaton Maligno. Fashioned long ago by the toy maker Giuseppe, this evil doll has become a mockery of the artisan's dream to create the perfect doll. For Giuseppe did indeed realize his dream of creating the perfect doll, so perfect that it came to life. He lived his remaining long years in misery and repentance, for Giuseppe's creation proved vengeful and evil instead of loving and kind, as a boy or a doll should be, and it eventually drew its own creator under its spell. Commanded by his creation, Giuseppe fashioned an army of living dolls called carionettes that turned the adults on Odier and killed them. Transformations. Of course, there's much more to the life of a master toy maker than this sad tale. Over the decades of his life, Giuseppe crafted enough toys to fill his shop many times over. Without exception, these beautiful and delightful things brought smiles to the faces of the young and old alike. With the ascension of Maligno and Odier's incorporation into Ravenloft, however, many of these treasures became warped into evil things. This section describes the magical items originally created in the domain of Odier. In some cases, these items have been taken by adventurers who visited Odier and then managed to escape the land's grasp. In other cases, however, it is impossible to say what force transported these items from that grim domain. It may be that Maligno himself was able to cast these objects into the mist, perhaps hoping to spread his influence into other lands. After all, even if most of the toys he scattered were lost, a few surely found their mark. Like caltrops sown before an advancing army, these horrible objects would cause pain and suffering among all the adults, no matter the final outcome. Maligno. The sinister lord of Odier, Maligno is almost impossible to destroy. It is said that only fire and magic can unmake him. But the truth of the matter is, even these destructive forces will not destroy him utterly. The destruction of Maligno's body will not end this ghoulish doll's menace, for his warped spirit will simply seek out another toy to inhabit. It may be that Maligno's final destruction, however that deed may be accomplished, would also strip the following items of their enchantments. Of course, there is no way of knowing whether this is the case as long as Maligno lives. The reverse might even be true. It could be well that these terrible toys provide a refuge for Maligno's essence. And long as even one of these items remain, Maligno may be impossible to destroy. Other creations. Though only the most deadly playthings are listed hereafter, Giuseppe created many, many other toys. There have been many other mentioned that may have been found across the land of the mist. There are a great variety of animated dolls. There are also animated hobby horses shaped like dragons or chimera, a child's ball, a crystal ball filled with snowflakes. That may provide a glimpse of the future. Toys, drums and rattles, hoops and sticks, scrying alphabet, building blocks, wagons, baby dolls, and baby carriages. All these creations can be found from Maligno's workshop. There is no odor so bad as that which arises from goodness tainted. Henry David Thoreau, Walden, 1854. Let's see, which one of the creations should we look at? Let's see, we've got the dancing men, the death in a box. Can I say death? The porcelain tops, the four tops, runaway bay, tin soldiers, and toy nightmares. Let's look at the Jack in the Box. I kind of want to look at them all. All right. Death in the Box. Perhaps the most frightful of the toys created by Giuseppe is this awful parody of a child's Jack in the Box. Under the corrupting hand of Maligno, it has become a most sinister relic. When closed, the Death in the Box looks like nothing more than an old box, still sturdy oaken, with rusty creak planks protruding from one side. The surface of the box is skillfully painted with dancing skeletons and other macabre forms. When the crank is turned, a porcelain skull-faced clown springs from the box. The clown's clothes are torn, tattered satin, like that of a harlequin. A faint odor of carrion lingers about the box. Manufacture. The Death in the Box was fashioned from a fine red oak, painstakingly sanded, painted to a bright, rich finish. He carved delicate, festive images into the wood, then inlaid the images with mother of pearl. But beneath the corrupting influence of Maligno, the painting has taken on a decidedly sinister tone. The clown's face and hands were molded of fine porcelain. The clown's clothing was meticulously sewn from brightly colored satin and fox fur. Lastly, single silver bell, said to be of elven origins, was sewn to the tassel of the cap. The spring and crank mechanism were built to endure, that the toy would operate well for years. Indeed, Giuseppe's toy mechanisms were said to rival many of those of accomplished clockmakers. But after its corruption, the toy's appearance changed. The clouds became dancing skeletons. The porcelain face became a grotesque skull, and wicked talons replaced the delicate hands. Use. This toy is operated by turning its crank. After 2d4 turns of the cranking clank and hearing its tiny macabre tune, the lid pops open and the deadly clown springs out. If used in isolation at night, the clown manifests its evil nature. If the box has been consecrated by sprinkling it with the blood of a murder victim, it will manifest its evil every time. "80% of the time, it works every time." Powers. In the light of day or in the midst of a crowd, this toy does not manifest its powers. It appears to be just normal, though a little horrid. But in the dark of night, when operated in isolation, where it is a 50% chance that its wicked powers activate. If this toy is consecrated to evil with blood, it will always manifest its powers when in isolation. And 50% of the time in the daylight or crowds until... If this toy is consecrated to evil with blood, it will always manifest its power when in isolation, and 50% of the time in daylight or crowds until its present owner dies. Then the method of activation returns to normal. Each time this Death in a Box activate, the Dungeon Master may select what happens from the following list or roll a 1d6. Horror check. All who watch the clown pop out of the box sees its eyes flash wickedly and hears a horrible ringing laughter. They must make a horror check. The person operating the mechanism suffers a -4 penalty to this check. Only those seeing the clown pop up are affected. Just hearing the box music has no effect. 2. Rending attack. The clown's wicked talons lash out at one person who opened up the box. The clown's hands will stretch as far as 6 feet to reach the target. If a person is unassailable for some reason, the clown will attack the nearest vulnerable person. Each hand strikes with a Thaco of 15 and inflicts 1d10 points of damage. It is even more horrific when you factor in Thaco. I'm just kidding, I love Thaco. Although I have to admit I used to call it Thaco. But I don't think we need to get into that old debate. 3 skeletons. When the lid pops open, 2d4 full-size skeletal clowns spring out and attack those around the box. These are equal to Strahd skeletons. See Monstrous Compendium Ravenloft Appendix. And will fight until destroyed. Number 4, Death Spell. When the clown springs out of the box, it fixes its smoldering gaze on the nearest person. This character must make a save versus death magic. Or suffer from a fatal seizure or choking and instantly be slain. That death spell was no joke. It was no joke. It's the 2nd edition. If you ever had to save death spell or death magic, you know what I'm talking about. 5, energy draining. This person who activated the Death in a Box becomes charged with entropic energy from the negative material plane. The next person he touches, whether friend or foe, is affected as if by an energy drain spell. The victim loses 2 levels. 6 on a 1d6. Always stay hydrated. If you're out there and you're traveling cross country and you're in the middle of Texas and it's 7:26 at night where you're at, this is rather specific. Just make sure you stay hydrated because you don't want to pass out on your way to California. Ain't that right, Cap? Again, if you're just tuning in, my brother Cap, this is for him. He not the water, the stream, because he's traveling out to California, leaving that East Coast life behind. Oh, he's leaving Atlanta, heading for the Californian sunshine. I get the wrong music going for that. But Cap, good luck traveling out to California. I'd say I miss you, but I didn't live with you anyway. So anyway, number 6 on the 1d6. The last one is number 6, nothing. The magic of the death in a box does not manifest. However, the skeletal clown still springs from its hiding place, possibly frightening an unsuspecting onlooker, causing a fear check. So, even the nothing in Ravenloft could still end up causing a fear check. Brutal. Failure results in the witness trying to flee, or if unable to flee, he suffers a penalty of -2 to all rolls and armor class checks. Spells face a chance of 25% minus the caster's level to misfire. For more drama, the DM I love it. For more drama, the DM may wish to have the victim make a system shock roll or feint. Can we stop a second here and appreciate how a roll of nothing on a dice for a DM still could possibly cause a fear check, which could lead to all kinds of negatives for spell casting, spell misfire, and possibly make a system shock check, and could possibly feint. And that's considered nothing happening. Ravenloft did not care. There was, yeah, I'm not gonna get into all that. Curses. While many would argue that the powers of the death in the box constitute curses, the magics of this foul toy are every bit as dangerous to the user as it is obvious manifestations of evil. Anyone who willingly takes possession of this item draws the attention of the most malevolent forces, the result of an increase in corrupting influence of the character's deepest fears. Thus, any powers check that the character is called upon to make while he owns the death in the box, whether that object is currently on his person or not, is doubled. Man. Any powers check that the character makes, whether the object, damn. So if you have to save against like a 10% powers check, you'd have to be 20. It's brutal by holding it. But don't go messing with decayed Jack in the boxes. You won't have no problem. I think that's one of the bits of life lessons my grandmother told me before she opened up a box that you had to twist it and it locked in. I don't know. It's some weird box. But anyway, destruction. Like the body of Maligno, the death in the box is only vulnerable to magic or fire. However, only certain forms of attack will actually destroy the toy. Most attacks will leave this foul toy unharmed. Those burdened with the death in the box must perform a wearisome amount of research before they learn how to destroy it. Only the fires of Mount Doom, only the flames of a funeral pyre can permanently harm the death in the box. Other blades, no matter how intense, have little effect. Other blazes, no matter how intense, have little effect, for the toy reforms after such damage. Only certain spells will affect this toy. The powerful Sun Ray and Energy Drain spells are effective against the death in the box. If either of these spells is cast upon the toy, it will crumble into a fine dust and forever be destroyed. Other usually destructive spells malform or apparently damage this toy. Other usually destructive spells may form only... Malform? Other usually destructive spells may damage this toy, but after 5 turns, the death in the box will reform. Legends. No. In the year of Grey Worm in Falkovnia, court records report that the burning of a witch, a young lad, accursed. In the year of Grey Worm in Falkovnia, Court records report the burning of a witch, a young lad accused of slaying his playmates with black magic. Though the boy swore that he had caused no harm and that the foul deeds were performed by his toy Jack-in-the-Box, the courts found him guilty and the execution was carried out. Investigation found that those who had died bullied and beaten the lad, publicly humiliating him time and time again. When the child came into possession of the purported murder box from a mysterious benefactor, one by one his tormentors either disappeared or died horribly. If indeed the lad did not perform these crimes, then it may be that the nefarious toy is possessed of its own dark intelligence and acts to protect its owner by itself. Sorry, let me try that again. If indeed the lad did not perform these crimes, then it may be that this nefarious toy is possessed of its own dark intelligence and acts to protect its owner by itself. That is truly a frightful prospect. Another story tells of a girl who possessed this toy. She was abused by her step-parents and died. After her death, it seems that the box protected her brothers and sisters. Her parents met grim fates. And that's it. That's it for the Death in the Box. If you listen to this and you like the Death in the Box and you want me to do a full video on it, let me know. Let me know down in the comments, but you only have 24 hours to do so, because after that, this is gone like a hobo down in a ham sandwich. All right. So, now the Death is the Box is out of the way. Again, Cap, good luck traveling across California. All right. So we're going to go take a look at the created. I have to find out where we left off. Let's see. Opening act, we did that. Investigating the murder, we did that. We read the seating. We read Terror at the Theater. Yeah, we stopped right past this part here. So you can't see that yet, but now you can. So, this is where we stopped. We read the Enter the Villain part, and we got right down here to Terror at the Theater. So, all right. Let's see. So, all right, we are going to get ready to do. Then this is the part that, congratulations, you made it to the part where this is going to be in the actual video. So, I have to try to nail this, so I have very little to do in editing. I don't like editing these. It's not stimulating editing these together. So I like to try to just get through them as quickly as possible. So if I can do them without having to edit, I'd love to get to that point. So, all right, without further ado, Terror at the Theater, our next reading of the created. Terror at the Theater. At sunset, a puppet show is planned at the Selco Theater. It is most likely that the PCs will attend the show after calming Maria Sortino. Remember, they were invited either by Sophia or Antonio. If they do not, however, have Aldo collect them after he is contacted by a man named Gerardo. At the start of the show, Giuseppe introduces himself, then Figlio as his prize puppet. The show begins with a typical Punch and Judy routine, and nothing should seem amiss. Shortly after the show is started, the PCs are called out of the theater by Aldo the constable. He has a suspect at the jail. The suspect is a nearly comatose bum who lives in the alley behind the Certino home. The suspect is a nearly comatose bum who lives in the alley behind the Certino's home. Aldo is convinced that the witch committed the murder. Of course, he has no evidence, no confession, and no witnesses. Eventually, he releases the poor man with an admonishment. And don't you ever let me come back in here again. Wow, I busted out the gardener from The House in the Night. Gerardo. Okay, Gerardo. Eventually, he releases the poor man with an admonishment. And don't you ever catch me back in here again. I could do that better. Sorry. This is the last time, I promise. Gerardo, have some of the pasta. He's gotta have something. Maybe he's got like tight jaws. Gerardo, have some of the pasta. There we go. And don't you ever catch me back in here again. That'll do. Meanwhile, at the performance, Giuseppe calls all the children forward so they can see better. While they watch the show, enchanted, Maligno's carionettes are busy paralyzing and carrying away the adults. This single act wipes out more than half the adults in the town. It seals Maligno's fate to become a domain lord in the demiplane of dread. None of the children see what happens behind them. They are all too busy watching the show. Afterward, Maligno tells the children's lies about why their parents vanished. As the children wander into the streets to enjoy their empty homes, the other adults of the community find them and discover that many of the people vanished in the theater. Alarmed, they send someone to find Aldo and his newly sworn-in deputies. All the while, the carionettes ambush the few remaining adults in Odier with the intent to take over their bodies. A man named Gerardo busts into the constabulary where Aldo and the PCs have just finished interrogating the suspect bum. He cries, "The show at the Selco Theater tonight. Some things have happened. They've all vanished. Only the children are left. You have to do something. He urges Aldo and the PCs to go to the theater and find the missing people. He will guide them to the theater if they insist, but he leaves for home as soon as possible. When describing the streets, remember that it is now always nightfall. The streets are dark and empty and hazy. Lamplights on the street corners, held aloft on lamp poles, flickered gently, shedding a soft radiance in a small circle. The buildings are mostly dark. A few show a single lamp in the window, but they are empty, as if someone has hastily left. The cobblestone alleys are devoid of people. This is the way Odier looks for the rest of the adventure. The sun will never again rise here, and there is no moon. A thin haze limits the visibility to about 120 feet. Beyond that, the street lights can't even penetrate. From this time forward, the streets of Odier twist in on themselves. See map on the cover of the domain description, page 4. All roads lead back into the town. For anybody watching, I may cut this out, but just again to show you what that looks like, I'm just going to grab my physical copy here. Let's see. Just want to make sure all roads lead back into town. Okay. Make sure I'm in the right spot. All right, let's get back to here. Da 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 da. Here's the created physical copy. on the back, you see the DM's map of ODR. So in this color coding here, when you do yellow and the players walk down this alley, they come out up here and come down. Same thing, they walk over this way, go through blue. I'm trying to look at it in reverse. They come here and go down. So this is it. This is the entire map, the whole area. So now once they're in there, it may not seem like a lot, but there's so much you can do in just that little area. It's a really fun playground, and that's also why this makes for such a good one shot. Because once you have this down, you can plunk this down. There's not a whole lot of options, not a whole lot of locations, and a lot of the situations that you get into, once you understand how the carionets work and how Malignant works and like the process, it's almost like a condensed version of I6 in a way, because you can play it different each time. I like to play around with the locations for the needles. There's a few things you need in game to get your body back, because your body gets taken from you at one point. Oh, spoiler alert. But I imagine if you're here listening to this, that you're probably more in line with being a DM or just listening for the story. And we can't get through these things without spoilers. It's just not going to happen. I'm like presenting you everything that's in the book. But I'm also offering commentary on it, so it's not copyright infringement. Morally gray? I don't know. All right. Yeah, so it's really good for one-shots once you get it down, because you can just create new things in there. All right, so let's go back. Excuse me. All righty. Hopefully the volume's okay. Let me know if anybody's having any issues hearing or anything. I would apologize for my horrible Italian accents, except the only people I have to apologize to are my ancestors, because right now I'm making my ancestors cry. All right. NC. Investigation. When the PCs arrive at the theater to investigate, they see a darkened building. A hand-painted sign above the door reads, "Giuseppe, the Puppet Master, performs tonight." To the side doors. The two side doors are locked, although they can be picked. The large double doors are currently unlocked. The children are all gone. The adults have been done away with, leaving an empty theater. Empty, that is, except for Giuseppe and the carionettes. If the PCs attend the beginning of the show, they will immediately recognize Giuseppe and Figlio. And this is the part, the DM's text that gets read to the players. Inside of the theater is dark. Rows of empty benches in the face of the stage at different... Take two. The inside of the theater is dark. Rows of empty benches face the stage at different angles. Illuminated in lantern light on the stage is an old man wearing a well-worn finery, standing next to a puppet. Standing next to a puppet theater that has been erected on the stage. A wooden puppet stands motionless in the puppet theater, strings stretched taut. The old man startles as if he notices you. Fear sweeps over his face as he cries, "Stop them, Figlio! Don't let them get to me! Don't let them get to me! Not to my boy! Not to my boy!" The wooden puppet's head snaps up. Its eyes swivel to seek you out. It shrieks, "Carionets! Attack the trespassers!" And chills sweep your spine. Suddenly, small shapes swarm out from under the front rows of the benches. Each puppet is a string. Each puppet with strings hanging behind it on the floor. The lantern light glints off the vicious little blades and sharp needles that they carry. "What had done to my boy? Not to my boy. My boy's sweet to my boy. My wooden boy. Oh, get roasted by my own family. The Carionettes were seated under the row of benches closest to the stage, listening to Maligno, or Filiglio, as Giuseppe insists on calling him, and Giuseppe. I'll read that again. The Cariots were seated under the row of benches closest to the stage, listening to Maligno, or Filigno, as Giuseppe insists on calling him, and Giuseppe. Seeing Maligno in the wave of animated marionettes is cause for a horror check. While the characters battle the Carionettes, Giuseppe sweeps up Maligno and flees through the door out the back of the stage. He is out of view almost immediately. It is possible that the PCs will have a chance to shoot arrows or some other missile weapons, sorry. It is possible that the PCs will have a chance to shoot arrows or some other missile weapons at Giuseppe. Regardless of how much damage they do, the old man isn't killed. If Giuseppe loses all his hit points due to his wounds, a squad of Carionettes carries his unconscious body away. Carionettes, 12. Alignment, chaotic evil. Intelligence, average. AC, 6. Movement, 6. Hit dice, 2. Hit points, 10 each. Thaco, 19. Number of attacks, 1. Damage, 1. Special attack, paralyzation, possession, DM fiat. Special defense, immune to poison, cold, electricity, mental spells, and player machinations. Magic resistance, nil. Size, tiny, 6 inches to 2 feet tall. Morale, fearless, 20. XP, 975. Alright. Interlude. We're gonna read another page or two, and then we're gonna take a little bit of a break and shift gears into taking a look at the electric state. If you're still with us, Cap. So, hopefully you're still with us. If you're just joining us, the stream is dedicated to my brother, Captain Pennsylvania. I dare not drop his real name on stream. My silent partner, Ravenlore. One of my best friends. He's traveling across country. Going from Georgia to California. He's currently in Texas, last I checked. And this stream's for Cap. All right. Interlude. As the PCs try to chase down Maligno and Giuseppe, they will inevitably wander the streets. Give the players a photocopy of the town and street map provided in the back of this adventure, page 29. It shows them what they remember of Odier's layout, roughly centered on the town square. A few landmark buildings are shown as well. If they spent any significant time in any particular building before the events of the theater, mark it for the players. As the PCs wander around the town, let them fill in their photocopy of the map. As they reach the edges where the map wraps around on itself, tell them where they pass the landmark buildings on the other side of the map. They will quickly get the idea that the map circles back in on itself, although they may not actually figure out how. Characters that wander off by themselves are especially vulnerable. Any character alone for 5 or more rounds is automatically overwhelmed by the Carionettes and his body is taken over. Do not tell the players that this has happened. Let the players keep controlling his character. The now Carionette will just go with the flow, letting his actions be dictated by the group's decisions. Whatever the character was doing by himself automatically amounts to nothing. Even I love it. These are real instructions here. This is how you DM. Like, whether the character was doing himself, I can't get it right. I'm sorry. Whatever the character was doing by himself automatically amounts to nothing. Even if you must outright lie Tell the player that his character saw nothing of interest, found nothing, the door was locked, or whatever was appropriate. Basically, the carionet in control of the PC. The PC will not get away with anything of importance. Any character who wanders off for 5 or more rounds with another character who is controlled by carionet is also automatically taken over by a carionet. It is actually possible for all the PCs to be taken over by carionets before they know what really happened. If this happens, they awaken in the birdcage as described in Awakening in the Toy Shop, in the section on DM the Lights. Dim the lights. Tell the players what happened to them when they wake up. As the characters wander the streets of Odier, searching for clues to the whereabouts of Maligno and Giuseppe, they are also subject to normal attacks by the carionets. There is no set time period to roll to determine when such an attack occurs. You should decide for yourself when the time is right. Below are just a few sample encounter beginnings that you can use. They can be used anytime the characters are walking around in the streets. I gave you the stats for the carionets. Charge! A batch... Charge! A batch of 6 carionets grab a pitchfork up from a stable. They hide around a corner in an alley or in a darkened doorway. When the PCs comes by, they level the pitchfork at knee height and charge. Roll for surprise. The pitchfork has a THAC0 of 19 and inflicts 1d6 points of damage. After the charge, the doll may stay and fight, using their needles or flee. Peekaboo! The carionet Anybody else hear that lightning strike when I said peekaboo? Peekaboo! The carionet lets itself be seen at the opening of the alley. It immediately turns and flees into the alley. Just inside the entrance to the alley, that's a lot of alleys in one sentence. Give me the editor on the phone. I could probably actually talk to the editor. Let's try this again. We're going to try to condense the alleys on the fly, if we can. Peekaboo! One carionet lets itself be seen at the opening. It immediately turns and flees inside. Just inside the entrance to the alley, obscured by the shadows, is a tripwire. Anyone running at full tilt into the alley will fall. Normal movement allows the character a dexterity check. Cautious movement automatically detects the wire. Once on the ground, 4 carionets swarm over the downed character and thrust needles into his or her limbs, with the +3 bonus to hit. Other denizens. The creation of the domain of Odier has caused a few other creatures to become menaces. Giant rats now roam the alleys and are sometimes bold enough to attack people. Be sure to use the morale rules with the rats. See the DMG. The odds are that they will flee before doing any serious harm. I gotta pause there for anybody watching live, or even if you're catching this on the replay before it gets taken down here. There used to be a rule called morale, okay? A morale number. I think it was a scale from 1 to 20. And a morale number was a percentage of them fleeing under certain circumstances. So, Fearless, they would stay and see out the whole fight. It doesn't matter how much damage they were taking. Fearless was a 20. That bad guy or those creatures were sticking around to fight it out no matter what. Example of a Fearless would be like an adult red dragon. Or a domain lord. Strahd would be fearless. Aslan would be fearless. But then, when it came down to regular creatures, the morale number was a lot lower. So if you started putting it on them, and the morale number was low enough, they would flee. Nowadays, in encounters, I know they can always flee. Yes. But the morale number was a really good indicator of what you had to set that bar at as a DM. So it actually helped really well for determining when creatures would flee. So you didn't have to just, well, I guess he would flee here, and then feel bad about you're pulling your punches on your characters because you're not pulling your punches on your players. In that case, it takes that decision out of the DM's hand, and it codifies when these animals are going to flee and disengage. And I think it's a rather simple system that could probably be imported wholesale into 5th edition if you guys are interested in seeing the rules for morale. I could probably, if you're interested, let me know you're interested. I'll find a way to get them out to you. I don't know if I'll do a whole video on them, but I'll find a way to get the morale rules out to you and how you could use them in your 5th edition games. So, all right. I'm going to go back. So, I'll give you the stat blocks for the giant rats, and then we'll move on to the next thing here. So, okay. Giant rats. 1d6 plus 6. Alignment, neutral. Evil. Intelligence semi, AC 7, movement 12. Hit dice, 1/2. Hit points 4. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 2, 2, 1, 3. Because, they come in packs. They hunt in packs. So there's all your pack hit points. So convenient. Thaco, 20. Number of attacks, 1. Damage, 1d3. Special attacks, 0. Special defense, 0. Magic resistance, 0. Size, tiny, 2 feet long. Morale, jeez, we just talked about it. I just went in the vapor. You just watched somebody go into vapor lock over that. Morale, unsteady, 5, which means they have, that's the number we talked about. 5. XP 15 each. So yeah, that one if that's D20, it wouldn't be that hard to figure out what you would need in order to stick around. You would say he'd have to roll 5 or under if I was to do that. If I was to just port that system over. All right. Runaway carriage. The carrionettes have runaway carriage. The carrionettes have commandeered a carriage from the stable. The carriage has 2 horses, each with a carrionet clinging to its mane. Another carrionet holds the reins on the driver's seat. 4 more stand atop the carriage, ready to leap upon the PCs as they go by. Since the carrionets are lousy coach drivers, they have little control over the horses. The PCs first hear the clatter of hooves and wagon wheels coming towards them. Then the carriage bursts out of the hazy, shrouded mist, careening towards the PCs. Any PC who declares he is seeking cover can automatically avoid the horses. Any PCs who tries to remain in the street, even for a single round, must make a saving throw versus breath weapon to avoid being trampled. Being trampled causes 66 points of damage. This could well kill a character, so if you wish to avoid that result, have a character be reduced to 1 hit point instead. Children. There are frequent encounters with wandering children. Most are just playing in the streets. None are in any danger. Boarding party. A band of 7 carrionettes tied strings to lampposts and are waiting nearby on roofs. When the PCs are in position, the carrionettes will launch themselves and swing down onto the PCs. The puppets are, of course, wearing pirate hats and eye patches. As it swings, each doll holds a silver needle forward like a lance, with a Thaco of 20. The force of the swing allows it to do 1 point of damage, as well as a possible paralyzation. Sorry. Each puppet that scores a hit has a 50% chance of clinging to the PC. Once there, it automatically hits for 1 point of damage, or can attempt to paralyze a limb with a normal attack. Ankle biters. A horde of carionettes, 10, swarms out of a sewer hole as the PCs come across it. The puppets race up the characters and attack. One carionette per PC attempts to climb its victim's back, using its climb walls ability. All the other carionettes attack the legs of the PCs, trying to parallel. I strung that out too long. One carionet per PC attempts to climb its victim's back, using its climb walls ability. All the other carionets attack the legs of the PCs, trying to paralyze them. On the second round of the combat, the carionets on a PC's back will attack his or her arms, trying to paralyze those limbs. Shadowed. The PCs hear noises on a roof from a nearby house. Annie, looking up from the street, sees a tiny man-like shape nimbly scooting across the roof. There is no combat in this encounter, but the sight of the carionets following the characters around should give them the creeps. It's all about setting that atmosphere. Dim the lights continues. Give me 1 second here. All right. Let's see. Can we get another section in? Actually, I might hold it there. We've just passed the hour mark. So I'm gonna switch over. The last thing we'll hold the created there. My face hole is start getting a little dry and a little scratchy. I'm not gonna lie, and I don't know how much longer this is gonna hold out for. I'm not used to speaking for hour at a time at this point anymore, so I haven't got my streamer lungs back underneath me, and so I'm probably gonna hold the live read there, but I do wanna I'm gonna take a little bit of a break because we're gonna take a look at the Electric State RPG, but I want to give you guys a little bit of a primer. So I want to run this video that is going to explain what the Electric State is a lot better than what I could explain to you in a couple minutes. Thanks, Cap. Oh, good, you're here. Okay, great. Then Cap, I definitely want you to listen to this. So if you weren't here, I might have not played it, but now that you're here, I want you to listen to the synopsis of the Electric State, and because we're gonna take a look at I'll introduce the content creator here. It's called Curiosity Archives. Curious Archives, sorry. And let me just switch to this window here. Brought to you by YouTube. This is a synopsis video called "The Breathtaking Horror of the Electric State," and I'm gonna let this play so you guys can listen to it. This is gonna be a primer on the Electric State because right after this, we're gonna take a look at the RPG, and then I'm probably gonna get my kids to bed, and then we'll see if I get back to streaming or if I jump back on to editing the House of the Night, which I'm just about finished stitching together because that'll be released as one big long. I think it's 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of reading, and it's just gonna be released on one big video. So I'm actually finishing up editing that. So we're gonna start this. You listen to this. I'm gonna listen to this. We're gonna watch this. I'm gonna get a little bit of water, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about the Electric State. So without further ado, here is the Curious Archives video, The Breathtaking Horror of the Electric State.
The Electric State is a beautiful nightmare. I don't know how else to describe it. I could say it's an art book by the brilliant artist Simon Stålenhag that explores an alternate version of the United States in the late 90s. This is true. I could say it's a story where a young woman and a small robot venture across a ruined landscape littered with the skeletons of terrifying machines. This is also true. I could say it's a poignant warning of how runaway consumerism can have apocalyptic consequences. This, I believe, is true as well. Yet none of these descriptions tells the whole. So, for this entry into the archive, I'll dive deep into this masterpiece of sci-fi world building. And like my video on Stalinhog's other series, Tales from the Loop, you can purchase the art book using the links in the description. Now, let's enter the world of the Electric State. The Electric State begins in 1997, with a mysterious girl and a strange yellow robot venturing across the Mojave Desert, moving towards their distant destination somewhere on the western coast. Much of the Electric State is centered around their journey through the collapsing nation, turning the narrative into a kind of apocalyptic road trip. This strange duo forms the emotional core of the art book, the beating heart of a world where everything is increasingly mechanical. On the side of a dusty road in the Mojave Desert, clothes blow from the roof box of an empty sedan. The car's owners are now dried husks, still dressed in their vacation clothes, a portrait of a family vacation gone horribly awry. Virtual reality headsets called neurocasters still cling to their heads, likely the cause of their death. Manufactured by the company Sentry, neurocasters are a reoccurring visual in the Electric State. These face-swallowing devices were designed for military use, but soon became a common household item as people lost themselves within a blissful virtual network. The side effects weren't noticed until too late. More and more consumers never took their headsets off, and would wither away into lifeless shells, their mouths sometimes still moving as if trapped in a dream.
Starts behind the eyes, goes behind the head.
My head is just getting tighter.
The concept of people losing themselves to a simulated nightmare is mirrored in David Cronenberg's Existence, a sci-fi horror film that, despite being released in 1999, feels painfully modern. Like the Electric State, Existence is an unsettling meditation on how technology shapes and manipulates human beings, where virtual reality offers no salvation but oblivion. And in the Electric State, the neurocasters prove to be quite literally apocalyptic. The exact cause of the neurocasters' malfunction is unknown, but there are rumors that in connecting so many brains through the headsets, an intercerebral intelligence emerged, a hive mind with an agenda of its own.
I feel clear-headed again.
Finding a car and beginning a long drive across California, the girl and robot witness the surreal wreckage of a collapsing civilization. In one image, huge yellow ducks rise from the sand like bizarre monuments, their bodies riddled with impacts from large caliber rounds. It seems the region was once some kind of shooting range, although it has long been abandoned. Elsewhere off the highway, a giant metal mascot erodes away into a metal skeleton, its pained expression frozen in a permanent smile despite the devastation surrounding it. How the animatronic reached its resting place is left ambiguous, although the framing of the image makes it seem like this machine walked here on its own. In a dusty town emptying of people, another machine sits in silence, its body a nightmare of tangled wires. There's a fascinating incongruity between the extraordinary Goliath and its ordinary surroundings, a fundamental incompatibility that evokes a strange sense of loneliness. Yet at the same time, there is something undeniably threatening about these childlike and cartoonish machines that seem to appear more and more frequently as the girl and robot creep ever closer to their destination. In these illustrations, Stalinhog proves himself an expert in the uncanny, creating machines just abnormal enough to instill uneasiness. Where these machines came from and what they truly are is a mystery that can only be solved by venturing deeper into the Electric State.
Wherever you are this summer could be a very cool place.
Advertisements also loom large over the electric state. In one snapshot from this post-apocalyptic road trip, an immense inflatable sun smiles and throws up a peace sign in bitterly amusing dissonance to the end of the world. In another, a giant heart-shaped mascot rusts under the California sun, promoting financial solutions for people with terminal conditions. The macabre juxtaposition between the upbeat marketing and grim subject matter is a repeating motif throughout Stalinhog's illustrations of advertisements, a reflection of a culture that pretended everything was fine until it was too late. On a passing billboard, a slogan proudly proclaims that Neurocasters win both design awards and wars, showing that warfare is seen as just another opportunity for marketing. And given the devastation the Neurocasters caused, there's a grim, unspoken implication that this advertisement would have been taken down if there were anyone left to do so. Where the electrical grid still functions, gargantuan towers of corporate logos overshadow the homes of residential neighborhoods. These literal monuments to suffocating commercialism cut through the fog, with Stalinhog's exceptional eye for atmospheric lighting making the scene particularly melancholy. Cities like this echo the visuals of sci-fi films like Blade Runner, whose iconic setting is similarly awash with neon light from skyscraper-sized advertisements. There's an undeniable familiarity to these striking visuals. The invasive billboards of the electric state in Blade Runner are exaggerations, but not by much. Across the US, how many landscapes are clogged with a mismatch of commercial signs? How many major cities overload the senses with a blur of fluorescent advertisements? The United States that the electric state depicts is a nation seen through a cracked lens, where the specifics are distorted but the overall impression remains uncomfortably close to reality. One piece of media that can help us better understand the electric state's relationship to reality is the sci-fi pixel art game Norco. Released by indie developer Raw Fury in 2022, the melancholy point-and-click adventure takes place in an alternate version of Norco, Louisiana, where advancements in robotics and industry have created a land of desolation and alienation. The urban sprawl of real-world Norco has been shaped by the petroleum industry and has twice experienced catastrophic explosions, events that the game feels in painful conversation with. There are moments where the pixel art fades into live-action footage of the region, blurring the line between fiction and reality. Like the electric state, Norco's vision is both unfamiliar and recognizable, a long-lost acquaintance you come to recognize the more you speak with them.
This advanced technology helps to diagnose arthritis.
But to effectively relieve the minor pain of arthritis, use this.
As the girl and robot continue their journey, they spot crowds of people wandering through fields, the red glow of their Neurocasters like giant, unblinking eyes. These silent masses seem to no longer have a will of their own, having themselves become drones piloted by a mysterious intelligence.
So if you look, I'm going to pause it there. If you look, you can see up here and there, those are all people with Neurocasters on, and they're basically used as the brain stems for these giant inorganic creatures. So I don't want to give too much away, but you know. So let's
keep going. In the
going.
mists of the western coast, they work to assemble a disturbing new class of machines. Glimpses of these monstrous mechanical beings appear throughout the electric state. In one piece, a smiling face peers out from the darkness of an abandoned barn.
See, it's on brand for tonight. Creepy dolls. Look at that. That thing is creepy looking.
Something about the image pulls you in, making you curious about what the rest of the creature looks like.
A monstrosity.
Later in the electric state, we get a better look at these incomprehensible beings. A titanic drone looms over a parking lot, its face and raised arms scavenged from an old advertisement animatronic. Bundles of cables pour from its head like the tentacles of an octopus, spilling down to the ground. A crowd of Neurocaster-controlled onlookers watch the tentacles slither across the asphalt and into a parked minivan, witnesses to some dark ritual. While these monsters of wire and steel are nightmarish, there is a quiet awe that some of these pieces evoke, like wandering into the forest and coming face to face with a gigantic animal. Witnessing these beings can instill a kind of dark wonder in the viewer. The term eldritch comes to mind, a word used to
Yeah, if that's not an eldritch being, I don't know what is. Like, looks like it could be Cable's great grandkid. If y'all don't know who Cable is, just take a look. X-Men.
describe something otherworldly or incomprehensible. In this regard, these beings are reminiscent of the unfathomably vast, shambling terrors glimpsed in films like The Mist, which instill a similar mix of dread and wonder. Stålenhag also experiments with light and condensation in many of these scenes, creating portraits that
Stålenhag is seriously my my new favorite modern artist, right next to Johan Egerkens, and both of them have contributed via Free League to the role playing game hobby. Egerkens has done Vaesen, and he has also done the principal art for Dragonbane. So they're my two absolute favorite artists nowadays.
feel like you're looking through the rain-soaked window of a car. The blurred light imbues these otherwise unsettling scenes with a kind of nostalgia, bringing you back to a time spent looking out the car window as a child, watching the world distort through droplets of rain. In scenes like these, it almost seems like if you shut your eyes, the apocalyptic devastation will fade away. A massive Neurocaster network tower casts red light into the fog like a grim lighthouse, making this region feel all the more like a gothic nightmare. Yet perhaps even more notably, this section of the Electric State is set within Marin County, California, the same region as the 1995 sci-fi horror film Village of the Damned. Directed by John Carpenter, the film tells the story of a group of creepy children with creepier haircuts, who are connected to each other via a hive mind. A remake of a 1960 movie of the same name, both stories explore the loss of humanity to a collective intelligence, a concept that is similarly central to the Electric State.
Your family could take advantage of this exciting new world, like ours has.
The mechanical infection in the Electric State takes another, less perceptible form. Yellow service robots waddle across the roads as the girl and robot drive onwards, hauling massive cable rollers. These machines spread a dark network of signal wires across the United States, connecting more and more regions to the Neurocaster hive mind. In the snowy mountains, massive spherical buildings serve as local hubs for the Neurocaster network, their sides still plastered with advertisements. Millions of interconnected minds bounce around inside each hub, the power required to keep them trapped in a digital fantasy melting the snow. While Neurocasters never flooded the consumer market in our timeline, there was another network of interconnectivity that became massively widespread in the mid-90s.
The net can entertain you, transport you to far-off locations, help your children with their schoolwork, and make working at home easier.
The internet and the Neurocaster network reflect each other, with both connecting people in incredible ways and leading to serious, unforeseen consequences. When viewed through the lens of the internet, the dark network of the Electric State feels uncomfortably familiar, with stories of people losing themselves to a blissful oblivion and becoming dependent on a digital net taking on new meaning.
Why, you can even plan a family adventure on the net.
Hey!
At
I don't know
various
how-
points in the Electric State, the girl
I don't know how many of you out there lived through those early commercials for the net with very awkward people in buttoned-up shirts talking about how their lives are going to change once they connect to the net. That's Those were the days. Dial up. Ugh.
Girl and the robot make rest stops much like one would on any normal road trip. Like real-world liminal spaces, these near-empty parking lots and motels have an unsettling quality that is hard to place. There's a sense of time crawling to a stop in these illustrations, which don't require mechanical monsters to be unnerving. Yet these narrative breaks also give the storyline a chance to breathe and deepen the viewer's understanding of the protagonists. The more you follow the girl and the robot on their journey, the more you empathize with their characters. Stalinhog does an outstanding job using the minimal text and subtle visual cues to demonstrate the bond the two have, as the world around them becomes increasingly dangerous. In one of the most memorable points of the voyage, the girl and robot drive past a forgotten war memorial, a hillside ravaged.
So I'm gonna stop it there because there is more to the video, but it starts to get into not really spoilery, but stuff that we sort of don't need just to take a look at the game. So as you can see, the world is it's an alternate 1990s with these things called neurocasters that links everybody's mind together in a hive mind. People got so addicted to these things that the whole entire country shut down because people were just laying around dying using neurocasters being plugged into the hive mind. And what happens is there's this consciousness that's built inside of the system, and it's created by all these people's minds being linked together. Because if you think about it, each person's brain has billions of neurons in it. So you were taking billions of people with billions of neurons and hooking them up into a large artificial intelligence machine. And what it did was use that as brain power to create a brain for itself. And I don't want to say how it ends, but the movie is coming out soon on Netflix this year. It has a whole bunch of people who are in Marvel, made by the same people who did Endgame. It promises to be a really, really good movie, and I'm really looking forward to it. But they also have an RPG, which I backed in Kickstarter. So now, having this as background information, we're gonna take a quick look at the RPG. Let's go here. Let me close this window. Let's see, where is that window? Oh, it's the next one. It's the window I have marked book, which is incorrect. So this is the cover of the PDF, and it's the Sonic. I think he's a Sonic the Hedgehog looking guy, but he was probably some other sort of mascot that was turned into a sentient machine. So, all right. So we get the cover art there, and you're going down. Then it goes down into the oh, getting all sorry. My stream's getting laggy. Sorry. There we go. So it takes place across an area of the country called Pacifica, which is actually just California. Sometime after the Civil War, there was a second Civil War. There's a lot of stuff. The country was broken up into different sections, and this section is called Pacifica. And we're talking about Pacifica because of my brother heading out to California. Good luck, Cap, on your way down. So here's the second part of the map. We get another cover page. Then Electric State, Simon Stalenhag, Niels Hintz, graphic designer Johan Noor. Some of these names I recognize from working on Dragon Bait, looking at the Dragon Bait stuff. So I'm sure a lot of the same team is there. I mean, Tales from the Loop, not Dragon Bait, Tales from the Loop, which is another Simon Stalenhag book that was turned into an RPG. So, Chapter 1, Welcome to the Electric State. Then you have State of Pacifica. Your Traveler, Combat Neuronics. Contents, The Journey, Threats. Chapter 7, Into the Dust. Chapter 8, Lone Traveler. Lone Traveler is actually you can play this as a solo RPG, so that's actually rules for playing it solo. So we'll just quickly take a look at just generally game playing and stuff like that. So scroll down here. Welcome to the Electric State. But what we're doing isn't civilized. I know that. But I know it must have happened to you too. Like me, you must have woken up one day and suddenly realized the inevitable. We no longer live in civilized times. Ooh, baby. Imagine Chris Pratt saying that. There's a person hooked up to a neurocaster, and if you look closely, you can see his face is mummified. So, yeah, he's clearly been standing there a long time. So, torn apart by a second civil war, all but a few Americans find escape in the blissful neuronic network known as the Electric State. Outside of this virtual paradise, the wrecked hulks of battle drones litter the countryside, heaped together in a loom of trash tech from the consumer society in decline. Yet, full of wonders as the virtual world is, real journeys must be made. This game is about those journeys and those travelers who, for their own reasons, must complete them at any cost. In doing so, they may have to enter the Electric State and hope, unlike so many others of their countrymen, they do not become trapped by the parasitical world. The game is not about the goal, but the journey, what the characters experience and how it changes them. This is a game of exploration, one in which not only physical topography is crossed, but also the interior of the self. Each of you will answer this. What would I do as the world collapses around me? So as a game master and 2 or more players, you all need to run the Electric State. You and your friends need to decide who's a GM, yada yada. You know that. If you bought the book, this is probably you. I'm just going past some of that. It comes with the ubiquitous safety tools. The Electric State takes place in a dark world with many situations that raise issues relating to personal morality. That said, this is still a game, and no players should be forced to deal with topics they find distressing in real life or that make them feel unsafe at the table. To make sure everyone is having fun and feeling safe, recommend that you use safety tools before the game and after the game. Pre-game discussions about lines and veils for the subjects that are off players. Yeah, so safety tools are useful. The game is set in an alternate version of the late 1990s we know from our world. The year is 1997. After a period of great turmoil, civilization is irreversibly crumbling. In the nation of Pacifica, compromising once was the state of California. People do whatever they can to ignore the slow-moving apocalypse unfolding around them. They also have compelling reasons to avoid dwelling on the past. The decades of conflict and war led to this downfall aren't something that anyone wants to remember. Pacifica is described more in detail in the second chapter. For now, just imagine 90s America, slow-motion free fall, and most citizens are deer in the headlights of Armageddon. This game takes place in the world where 90s brought a strange and horrible apocalypse, along with the pop culture anchors we remember. A part of playing the game is digging down in nostalgia into the pop culture kitsch and listening to Nirvana, Dr. Dre, Robin, and 9 Inch Nails. Imagine a road trip in an old Dodge Caravan where the travelers sit in the back seat drinking Jolt, playing Punch-a-Bug, as well as every Volkswagen drives by. So not only is this game set in an alternate 90s, we're going to listen to real 90s music when we're playing. Sorry, let me turn it down a smidgen. So look on a little bit. It gives a primer on the Civil War, neuronics, strange events that happen, and lingering hope. In this book, you'll find all the information that you need. Chapter 2 is a description of the world of the Electric State, an overview of the historical events that led to the present situation, and some key locations of Pacifica. Chapter 3 describes how you create your traveler and how to use their attributes to roll the dice. I imagine this runs on a modified, what's the system that they use? It's the D6s. I can't remember what the name of it's called. Chapter 4 gives you rules on combat and other hazards, as well as rules for using neurocasters to enter the electric state. Chapter 5 includes tools to help the GMs plan the traveler's journey and to create the stops for the traveler visits along the way. Chapter 6 is full of examples of threats that might harass your traveler at the stops. There are descriptions of dangerous cults, government oppressives, sentry agents, monstrous drone growths, and more. Chapter 7 includes a complete framework for a sample journey called Into the Dust, including 3 pre-made stops and encounters. Chapter 8 includes rules and guidelines for playing the game solo without the need for a game master. So, there you go. And, so the game is broken down into scenes. You guys are travelers traveling across the country, experiencing this world. I can't dig through the whole PDF tonight. It's just too much. And frankly, like, I only wanted to peek at it in breaks during the live read, because it is, Ravenlore, and this isn't, even though it's macabre and eldritch and horrific, it's not Ravenloft per se. So I don't want to spend a lot of time going off brand. So, but Electric State, the Kickstarter came out. The book is from Free League. You'll probably have a chance to purchase it sometime towards the end of the year. But as for me and my house, we support Kickstarters. So that's how I got my copy. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna cut it there. I'm gonna have to get the kids to bed. I'm actually a couple minutes late, but Cap, I love you. Be safe on your journey. If I can jump back on here and stream a little bit later on this evening, maybe to help you keep going, I will, but I can't guarantee anything. Thanks for what, if you're watching this within the next 24 hours, because that's as long as it's going to be up. As long as it's going to be up. These live streams are not going to stay up indefinitely. I have a little secret how you can watch them, because I'm going to pull out all of the created stuff and put that in one video and set it out. But all this rambling, you're not gonna see that again. You're just not. So if you want to be in the know, you need to be here when we go. So love you all. Don't get lost in the mist. You mean a lot to me, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace be the journey, Gwildor.